Friends, in an informal interaction with the students in Lucknow University, uh, one student asked me that you have read so many theories. You have read functionalism, Marxist theory, conflict theory, rich society, and all that. Now, can you tell us which theory is the best? It was a difficult question to answer. I said, okay, I will, I will tell you, but after some time. So I started thinking about that. And today I am in a position to say which theory is the best. And this presentation is about the theory that from my point of view, uh, which theory is or can be called the best. Uh, the title of this presentation is Sociological Theory. I like the most. It does not mean that all sociologists will like it most, but I like it most. And I will give you my reasons also. Now, first you would like to know which is that theory. So, friends, my answer is functional theory as modified by Robert K. Merton. It's not the traditional or conventional kind of structural functionalism. It is the functional theory as modified by Robert K. Merton. Now, you will ask me why. Why do I like this theory, Merton's theory of functionalism, the most? Now, from my perspective, there are some criteria which a good theory should meet. And these criteria are that it should be simple to understand, it should be parsimonious, means it should not involve so many uh, concepts, complex concepts, linguistics, philosophy, uh, phenomenology, politics, social, everything. But it should be a parsimonious theory that in terms of a minimum number of simple concepts which can be easily comprehended by our graduate students in sociology, it should be able to explain social phenomena. This theory must generate testable hypotheses. It must explain both order and change. While the conventional structural functional theory was good for explaining order, and conflict or Marxist theory was good for explaining change, and this Merton's theory would explain both order and change. Then it should not be incongruent with the theories of the new theories of the world system, risk, globalization, and postmodernism. It should be useful for both organization theories and social movements, means aspects of management or status quo and also aspects of social movements. It should provide explanation of both status quo and complete transformation of society. Uh, this theory should also be such that it provides a lens for studying the new issues of sociology with which most students are struggling: gender, class, ethnicity, and other social forms. Now, before I go to Merton's functionalism, somebody can ask, what was functionalism? And in short, my answer is that it explained social forms, all kinds of social forms, facts, institutions, patterns, in terms of their manifest or latent, obvious or hidden, positive consequences for society. Functionalism assumes that everything that exists in society has a positive consequence for society as a whole or for social structure. So old functionalism said that anything that exists in society or that needs to be explained, maybe family, maybe religion, maybe education, that needs to be explained in terms of its function for maintaining the society, for evolution of society, for differentiation of society, uh, for, for legitimacy of social structure, and in general for maintaining the social structure. You all know what is the meaning of social structure. Now, what is Mertonian functionalism? Mertonian functionalism critiques and modifies the underlying postulates of conservative structural functionalism. So Merton first he identified three postulates of functionalism which underlie a structural functional theory in sociology, and then critiques them and modifies them. This is Merton's contribution. First, he identifies three postulates of functionalism, then he critiques them, and then he modifies and develops his own theory of functionalism. I will talk about these three postulates in three different slides. First one is called the postulate of functional unity of society. What does that mean? It means that any part of society is functional for the entire system, and all parts of society work together for the maintenance and integration of the society as a whole. Then what is Merton's view of it? Merton's view is that functions are the perceived positive consequences. That means there is a drift from realism to perception. That functions are the perceived, I would emphasize this term perceived. Functions are the perceived positive consequences for a group or society as per their values. Obviously, in perceptions, values would play an important role. So functions are the perceived positive consequences for a group or society as per their values. This also implies that the values of the group that is under focus may be different from the generalized value system of society. The degree of functional unity may vary from society to society. This also means that the functional unity of society may vary, and this is something a subject of empirical investigation. All the societies of the world are not equally cohesive, coherent, organized, and unified. This to what the degree of integration or the extent to which anything is perceived by the group or society as per their values uh, may differ from one part to another. And this also means that everything need not affect everything in society. So it cannot be assumed that change in any one part of society will produce a change in other parts also, as in highly differentiated and plural societies. And most societies of today are plural. Our society is plural. Our society has a lot of differentiation with respect to caste, class, religion, region, language, and so many. We are a plural society. Most societies of today are plural. Institutions may show a high degree of functional autonomy, which means that even when one specific part of society is changing, uh, it need not necessarily affect other parts highly. So, to what extent change in one part will affect other parts will depend on what is the functional autonomy of those parts of society. And all this, all the three things are subject to empirical investigation. So this is the postulate of functional unity. Second, the postulate of universal functionalism. Uh, Conventionally, it was assumed that all social forms have positive functions. Then what is Merton's view of it? Merton said that all social forms have functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions for different individuals, for different groups, and for society as a whole. So something may be functional for society as a whole, but it need not be functional for all the sections of society, all the classes of society. It need not be functional for both men and women. And thus, the term function means the balance of all functions. Everything will have positive or functions. Positive functions are functions for it. Negative functions or dysfunctions, and non-functions, which means things of no consequence. So the term function means the balance of all functions, positive consequences, dysfunctions or negative consequences, and non-functions or no consequence at all. So if you want to study what is the function of family on society or on a specific group, you can study groups separately. Function of society for men and function of society for women. Then you have to sum up functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions for society or for men or women. Powerful groups maintain social forms through both direct coercion and indirect persuasion. Merton accepts that social forms can be maintained, or legitimacy of social forms can be maintained through both coercion, use of power, sometimes illegitimate power, and indirect persuasion. Now, in the light of postmodern theory, I may also include seduction, which is produced with the help of media. Now, this theory, the Merton's theory of functionalism, establishes microfunctionalism and macrofunctionalism as two forms of functionalism. Various types of. Now you can think of various types of functionalism. Macrofunctionalism means positive, negative, and inconsequential effects of something for society as a whole or for social structure as a whole. Microfunctionalism will mean the positive, negative, and neutral functions for specific groups, classes, men or women, regions, or religions, or other types of social formation in society. So these are two different. Merton distinguishes between, in postulate 1, Merton said that degree of functional unity is a subject of empirical investigation, which means if there is a change in one part of society, it need not change the entire society, or it need not change all parts of society, or it need not affect all sections of society. And in this postulate, Merton is saying that functions imply positive functions, negative functions, and non-functions. And these functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions may vary from one group to another and may be quite different for society as a whole and for specific subgroups. Third, the postulate of indispensability. This is very important and very interesting addition to functionalism by Merton. Now, the traditional functionalism, or so-called structural functionalism, said that some institutions like religion or state or family or education or economic institutions are indispensable to society. Merton has freed functionalism from this assumption. What is Merton's view of it then? Merton's view is that nothing is indispensable and everything may be replaced by alternative social forms or institutions which provide the same functions. That means there may be different forms, different social forms, which serve the same purpose or which have the same positive, negative, and non functions for society as a whole or for specific groups. The same functions may be met by a range of alternative institutions. And one can give the example. If you ask, uh, can there be functional alternative of religion? Now, according to traditional structural functionalism, there is no alternative to religion. All societies must have religion. But Merton would say, no, there are functional alternatives like communism. Communism can replace religion. Constitutionalism. In our country, constitution, rule of law, and written constitution of India. And in certain parts of Israel, kibbutzim, they can serve as functional alternatives of religion. So everything can change. Now, Merton has made the functional theory so general that it can take care of all types of formations. It can take care of order. It can also take care of social change. And it does not assume that anything is indispensable. Now, once you have understood the three postulates, their critiques, and Merton's modification, then you may ask a question, how can we apply Merton's functional theory to explain a social form, institution, social fact, or social change? My answer would be that you identify major collective actors or groups and subgroups in society. First, this is first. Second, identify functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions separately for different collective actors, groups, and subgroups. So, because Merton is saying that functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions may differ from one group to another, and they may be different for society as a whole and for specific subgroups. Then identify if there is a challenge to powerful groups. So all societies have a distribution of power. In all societies, power is unequally distributed, that we know. There are dominant groups, powerful groups, and also powerless groups. Then the question, try to answer this question, are the lower classes conscious of dysfunctions of the existing forms and organized to change the situation? Sometimes there is a coercion, there is dominance, exploitation, oppression, but the lower groups are not conscious of that. In patriarchy, women's consciousness is also governed by the same patriarchal norms by which the entire society or the men's world is governed. Or they may be conscious, but they may feel helpless. What can I do? What can we do to change the situation? Now, Merton would say that this is subject to empirical investigation, whether the different subgroups or groups are conscious of functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions of social forms, and are they interested in changing the social structure, in changing the relations between different classes, different genders, different ethnic groups. And do they know, do the lower classes or the classes which are dominated, oppressed, and exploited, do they know that the status quo can be changed? So if you want to apply Merton's theory to class, gender, ethnicity, try to answer these questions and you will get some answer. Now you may also ask, what about contemporary theories? Now, Merton's theory was modified, or functional theory was modified by Merton several decades ago. And since then, sociologists have looked at social phenomena in different paradigms, perspectives, theories, discourses. So, is Merton's modification of functionalism or Merton's functionalism is still meaningful? I would say yes, because Merton's theory can be combined with other contemporary and important theories like Beck's risk theory or complexity theory by adding the dimension of time. One can say that what is functional today, an activity for society or for specific groups and subgroups, which is useful today, may be uh, hazardous or risky tomorrow. Or today's activities may have certain consequences which are hazardous tomorrow. Or this is how risk was defined by Beck. And this theory can very well be combined by assuming that functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions may change over time. So what is non-functional today may become functional tomorrow or may become dysfunctional tomorrow for society or for different groups and subgroups. With the passage of time, institutions and actions which are functional today may lead to dysfunctional or mixed effects, means some positive and some negative functions. Or today's positive functions may become non-functions tomorrow. So Merton's theory can be combined with word system theory or theory of globalization by identifying international, national, and regional economic players or groups. Somebody may ask, uh, what about word system theory? Or what about theory of globalization? I will say that Merton's theory can be combined with them. You just have to identify major, powerful, international, national, and regional groups. This is what word system theory did by identifying core and peripheral countries, economies, regions within a country or within an economy. And then you can look in terms of functions and dysfunctions. Merton's theory can be combined with Uri's theory of sociology beyond societies also. I'm very fond of sociology beyond society. I like functionalism the best. Merton's functionalism the best does not mean that I do not appreciate other theories. I like John Uri's theory of sociology beyond society. I like his theory of complexity. Actually, I like, as far as aesthetic or other aspects are concerned, I like sociology beyond society. I like the theory of complexity. I taught theory of complexity to my PhD students for a long time. Now, by adding the new facts of mobility and escape, you can combine Merton's theory with Uri's theory of sociology beyond society. He just introduced. This is what Uri did. It introduced the concept of mobility and escape. That with the mobility of money, with the mobility of information, with the mobility of technology, with the mobility of uh, uh, everything, uh, capital, man, technology, information, with the mobility of all kinds, how did new escapes uh, get produced, and uh, what is happening to human behavior across cultures or in different social situations or in different parts of the world. What Uri was trying to say is that human behavior is no more explained by social structure. It's okay. But even when human behavior is not explained in terms of social structure, it is certainly explainable in terms of functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions. In the next lecture, I will take up the examples. I will take up two examples. I did not want to make a long video on this. So I will take up the examples of two things to prove my point, why Merton's modification to functionalism is useful and adequate to explain contemporary phenomena. So one phenomenon I will take, political Hinduism, and another institution I will take up is patriarchy, and I will show how functional modification uh, by Merton uh, has the capacity to explain new phenomena or new institutions or the exploitative institutions like patriarchy uh, and classes and the concept of dominant group. All these things can be very well combined with functionalism as modified by uh, Robert K. Merton. One article I would suggest, which actually inspired me to think in these terms, of course, uh, original writings of Merton and reading of a few pages of Harlambus would help. But from application point of view, this article by Gans, which was published in American Journal of Sociology in 1972, on positive functions of poverty will help you a lot in understanding what I want to say. Normally, people thought that uh, poverty is not a good thing. But this Gans suggested that while all societies, North, South, communist, democratic, welfare societies, socialist societies, all societies aim at removal of poverty, poverty persists. So there must be some reasons. These reasons are the functions. And the reasons for its existence or functions may be different for society as a whole and for non-poor groups and for poor groups. Generally, we will say that poverty is functional for the non-poor groups and dysfunctional for the poor groups. Then, how can the situation change? And in this article, a large number of economic, religious, social, psychological functions that poverty provides to non-poor people are listed. It's an interesting article. I think you would like to read this article. And once you have read this article, you will understand it better what I wanted to say. And, this will be followed by my application of uh, Mertonian functionalism to something new that is happening in our country, like political Hinduism, and also to understand patriarch and how patriarch can can change, how what can be done to change the nature of patriarchal institutions. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I said, actually, this was in response to a question raised by uh, graduate students in Lucknow University recently, that there are so many sociological theories. We teach them so many sociological theories. But can we say that uh, this is the best theory? Or if they understand this theory well, then they can apply it to study social phenomena and they will find meaningful results. Just one theory. Sometimes students are fed up with so many theories that you teach them. You teach them functionalism, structural functionalism, symbolic interactionism, ethnomethodology, word system theory, complexity theory, postmodern theory, and all that. Just one. They would like to identify. So, what I thought that uh, this theory, functional theory, as modified, I'm saying as modified by Robert K. Merton, is one theory that, from my perspective, is the best sociological theory in terms of which all kinds of social forms, all kinds of social institutions can be explained. And this is not a status quo theory. It can also suggest ways of changing the system. So it takes care of both order and change. Thank you very much. I hope you like this video and you got the answer to which sociological theory is the best and why.